Hi and welcome to Birds of Geek, episode 6. As ever, I'm Amy and joining me is the lovely Anthony.
Well, thank you. Hello.
And the wonderful Barry.
You bet I am.
That's more like it. That's how you respond to that, Anthony.
Well, I'm not used to compliments.
Oh, don't give me that rubbish. Anyway.
They slide off me like rocks off a duck's back.
Anyway, today we've got some books to go through because it's been a while. First book I read was the Life is Strange Volume 1 collection, Dust. And they're all difficult names to pronounce, so I am sorry for ruining your names. Let me get this right. So it's written by Emma Vieceli, artwork by Claudia Leonardi, colours by Andrea, is either Izzo or Izzo, and letters by Jim Starkings and Comic Craft and Jimmy Betancourt. So it is it's a sequel to Life is Strange, the computer game, and it starts you off by setting out what path this was, because for those who don't know, Life is Strange was kind of along the Telltale Games interactive storytelling where you made choices, but what you could do is you could rewind time back and make other choices, and then rewind time forward a bit and then do things again. So it was messing about with time. I didn't play the second game, which I believe was a prequel, but the first game really struck a chord with me in a lot of ways. Just everything, the colours, the music, everything about it just kind of left me a bit, I don't know the word for it, but it just left me not wanting more, but not satisfied.
Okay.
It's really hard to explain. It's just kind of like a, oh. But the soundtrack for it was wonderful. The lighting and the colours and all of it was just wonderful. And I enjoyed it so much that I didn't want to play the prequel because I didn't want to spoil like the experience of the first game. But this was one that I wanted to complete and I wanted to finish and see everything of. So it was fantastic. So I was quite excited about reading this because it was a sequel rather than a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I liked a lot of it. I could see what the story was trying to do, but it didn't give me enough. The art and the colours, everything. It's hard because I don't want. Can I spoil Life is Strange? Because it's been out for years.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, and as I said, this comic is a sequel, so if people pick it up, it's going to be spoiled anyway. Isn't it?
We join Max after everything's gone down. Max is now living her life with, and I've forgotten the character with the blue hair's name, which drives Chloe. So Max and Chloe are together and they are living their lives together. They've moved away from the town that got destroyed in the storm, and they've got a group of friends who are in a pirate rock band, which was awesome, but made me think of pirate rock from Jake and the Neverland Pirates. And they're living life quite happily and quite normally, but it's coming up to the year anniversary since having to go back since the destruction of the town, and Max is really torn up about it all, and weird stuff starts going down with her. I will like to say here, because I mention it every time, Max Caulfield is the same name as one of my first kind of celebrity crushes, which was Max Caulfield, who played Michael in Grease 2. So I personally loved that thing. I don't know if it was intentional, but anyway, but this is Max Girl. So Max wants to go back and see everything. Chloe thinks it's a bad idea. Then wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff starts happening, and the story progresses from there. And it kind of felt like the story didn't get going. It was kind of almost like stilted. And it was like it was trying to progress, but it just kept coming up against a wall. And then it was over. And the conclusion was good, and the conclusion worked in the whole arc of it, but I just kind of feel like there wasn't that tension building or anything that I kind of associated when I played the game. Have I just rambled, or have I made any sense?
No, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I was just going to say, do you think, because the first collection is 4 issues, isn't it? Do you think it maybe the story needed, a couple more issues or something?
Yeah, I think if it was 6 issues, it would have given it time to grow, and for not necessarily more things to happen, but for more conversations to take place, more characters, because it's clear that over the past year, they haven't just hung out with their pirate friends. They have gone through stuff together because they are fully a couple now. But it needed, I really feel like it needed 2 more issues just to kind of round out the story, which was frustrating because I just feel like it needed more. And I don't know whether that was a choice of Emma's to only have it as 4 issues, or whether it was a choice of the publisher to only have it as 4 issues.
Right.
And part of me hopes it's the publisher rather than Emma, because I really like Emma's work. And I don't think...
I'm just having a look now, and there are other issues. So issues 5, 6, and 7 are around. So I'm wondering if it's a continuation or a second arc or what. I don't know.
Well, it could definitely... It literally ends with the last words being, "This action will have consequences," but it didn't feel like a full arc. It almost felt like a prequel arc, if that made sense, like the lead up to an actual storyline.
So sort of like a prologue almost.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It kind of like it's like the in-betweeny space between whatever these consequences are and what happened before, but they miss out a year of time. So it just left me confused and frustrated. That being said, I will probably still pick up and read the next arc just to see if my frustrations are unfounded. The artwork in it was brilliant, and it really suited the tone of the characters. The artwork was really well done in the fact it kept the similar lighting styles. Like, a lot of it's got a pinkish hue to it in certain scenes, and that stayed. And it's like the characters were very clearly the characters who I played in the game, while being, a very different art style, because the characters in the game are 3D models, whereas these are quite not flat, because it's definitely not flat, but less 3D, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to use the word flat, because that implies that the colours and that don't make it wonderful, but it is.
I mean, it's just more, it's more traditionally a comic style rather than trying to mimic a 3D style, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of a comic style, because it'd be very easy to mimic a 3D style or go for like the hyperrealism style. But it doesn't. It's very clearly a comic. But some of the things that they do with the wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, the way that the artwork portrays this is present time, this is wibbly time, really comes across clearly. And even there's some points where you have both things happening on the same panel. And you get bits where Max can see both parts of the timeline. And it's very, very clear what Max can see and what Chloe can see, because it's done. And a large part of that I would put down to the colorist, because a large part of it is done with the colours.
Yeah.
Which is really, really good.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's the book. I'd say if you like Life is Strange, pick it up, but I would probably pick up the first 2 volumes, because this doesn't feel like a whole story.
Cool.
Okay, and who wants to go next?
So let's do Newbury and Hobbes.
Yes. So this is Newbury and Hobbes, The Undying, which it comes from Titan Comics. So it's written by George Mann. Artwork by Dan Boultwood and lettering by Rob Steen. The blurb for this is a foul plot unfolds in the depths of London as bombs rock the city. The dead rise and Her Majesty is not amused. discover the dynamic detective duo of Sir Maurice Newbury and Miss Veronica Hobbes, defenders of the Victorian Empire against threats both natural and supernatural. So this collects issues 1 to 4 of Newbury and Hobbes. To give a bit of backstory to this, this is actually we talked about this, I think, on the very first episode of Birds
I think
of
it was,
Geek.
yeah. I think
it was, yeah. And had you read like the first 2 issues maybe, Anne?
Yeah, issues 1 and 2, and I've got 3 ready to read, but hadn't got round to reading it yet, if I remember right.
Yeah. So obviously they've now put out the first 4 issues, and it's been released as a collected volume. And I sat and read this today. I'd already read the first issue when we talked about it, so I went back and reread the whole thing. Now this is a sort of, it's not a spin-off, because originally this was it's a book series as well, isn't it? And that's what it's more known for. But this isn't a adaptation of a story from the books. This is kind of set after. I think this is set after the second book in the series.
Yeah, they keep referring back to the previous adventure, don't they? Which is it's both nice and a little bit irritating.
I mean, we'll get on to some of the irritants. There's not many. So I whizzed through this today. Now, anyone who listens to me ranting on Geek Syndicate or one of the other podcasts I've kind of gate crashed will know that I'm a big fan of Pulp Adventure. And this pretty much scratches that itch on every page and every panel. The fact that it's done by Dan Boultwood, disclaimer, I know Dan. So
disclaimer, we all know Dan.
We all know Dan. So, but that, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that I'm mates with him is irrelevant because his art speaks for itself.
If you want someone to do Pulp Adventure, it's Dan Boultwood.
Is it? I mean, literally, I cannot think of anyone better suited to do this kind of steampunk Victorian sort of adventure. Fun, yeah, exactly, and especially that kind of fun element than Dan. So the artwork is the kind of it's the star of the show. I mean, I love the story. I think the story's great. It moves with a fast pace, but it's Dan's artwork that kind of makes it shine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did really enjoy it. It was almost reminded me a little bit of like the Avengers TV series, as in
the British Avengers.
Yeah, as in John Steed and Mrs. Peel, as opposed to Avengers, but like a Victorian version of them, or like a Victorian version of like Mulder and Scully.
I seem to remember, and I might have dreamt it. So if it didn't happen, when I was little, there was kind of like a young Sherlock Holmes thing.
Yes, there was.
There was a young Sherlock Holmes film.
Yes, loved that film.
And it reminded me in the back of my memory of like the excitement and the thrill I got from watching that.
Yeah.
And that kind of Victorian, little bit occulty-ness to it, and the steampunk is like new and shiny.
Yeah, and it moves. It's 4 issues. I would have been quite happy with 6 issues. However, I think what I quite liked about it was you weren't too far away from like a fist fight, a gunfight, or some sort of like motorized carriage chase. So
it didn't need 6 issues.
Yes and no. I think when I say 6 issues, I think I'm coming from it more from the point of view that I enjoyed it a lot. And I feel that once we get to who the villain is, that bit of it kind of speeds up really quickly. And I think it would have been nice to have had another issue maybe on the villain. Yeah, maybe not even 6, maybe 5 issues.
I kind of agree with what you're saying, because for me, I kind of mentioned a bit ago about a minor irritant I had, which was it kept referring back to the history that they had. But unless you've read the books, you don't get the sense of that, other than they keep saying, oh, I followed your plot before and all that kind of stuff. So it would have been nice to have almost had, as you say, 1 or 2 like flashback issues, which almost were like a really quick adaptation of one of those previous adventures or something. So you got a bit more of the feel of the animosity and the history there, and a bit more of this kind of sense of Holmes Moriarty almost, which in the 4 issues as presented is there, but it could be there more.
I feel that if you'd read, I definitely felt if I'd read the book that this is kind of the sequel to, I would have got a lot more out of this comic. And I got a lot out of this comic as it was. And a part of me almost wished that they'd adapted that second book as a comic and then done this comic. Because there were flashbacks in there and there were mentions in there, but I think there were so many callbacks that almost like every character that kind of walked on had a backstory that we obviously hadn't seen. I mean, as an advert for going to read the books, it was cracking, because now I want to go and read the second book.
Yeah, I mean, I said at the time back in when I read back in episode 1 of this, it kind of, I mean, steampunk is something that's almost passed me by. It's like, I've seen the occasional sort of steampunky film and stuff, but I've never read the occasional steampunky comic, but I've never really got into it. But this, as you say, it whetted my appetite and made me, I mean, I haven't done yet, being honest about that, but it made me want to actually, as you say, go back and read these books and get into the world a bit more and into this kind of, steampunk sort of genre, I guess, as well, the entire genre. So as you say, as an advert for both the series and the genre on the whole, to be honest, it is quite a cool little advert.
And also as well, at the end of the volume, I have not read it yet, but there's actually like a short prose story.
Yeah, there is. There was so that was split over the 4 issues as well. I've not read that yet either, because I was waiting until I've got all 4, and then I've just been reading other stuff. But yeah, there's a short story that kind of I'm not sure if it's just a separate. I think it's just a separate adventure, isn't it?
I think so. I've not read it yet either. I'm gonna dive into that, but I think I'll probably end up diving into the books first. So there's currently 5 books out by the look of it, and a short stories case book, as well as the graphic novel. So that's Newbury and Hobbes, The Undying, which I love. So I get 2 thumbs up, and I definitely recommend people check out that bad boy.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I agree too. It's lots of fun.
Lots of fun is always good.
Time for one more?
Yeah, should we quickly do Lola XOXO?
Not a 13-year-old YouTuber.
Not a 13-year-old YouTuber, no.
No.
But a post-apocalyptic graphic novel series released by Aspen. It's a creator-owned series. Aspen's one of those companies. It's the company that was set up by Michael Turner, but it sort of spun out almost of Top Cow and stuff, where it was a lot of kind of like similar to Image. It's that same sort of era where Image and Top Cow came out, where it was kind of big creators giving smaller creators a platform to have their creator-owned projects on, sort of thing. And this one was originally released back in 2015 digitally. Anyway, I'm not sure when the physical copies were, but it's both written and drawn / coloured by Sia Apologies if I've ruined your name. And yeah, as I say, it's a post-apocalyptic fiction. The blurb is as follows. So, in the wasteland, Lola, a young woman with a resolve fortified by a lifetime of survival on her own, must journey across the nuclear-decimated United States in order to find the family that was taken from her. As her quest for the truth begins, Lola uncovers the true inhumanity of the apocalypse, as those who seek to hold power in a new frontier will do so at all bloody costs, including her life. So that blows pretty good for the series as a whole. So there's 2 volumes and a third series as well in total for it. I bought the deluxe omnibus edition because at the moment on Comixology there's an Aspen sale on. So I think it was like £6 or £8 for the 18 issues. So I bought that, but I've only read what is essentially the first volume, which is the first 6 issues. So this volume kind of sets up the background really, and it starts off with Lola sort of as a child. She's going off to see her grandmother who lives in New York. Her parents have stayed in Los Angeles and they're going to go out and meet her later. During the course of the flight, a series of bombs strike the US. So basically a nuclear war kicks off. And she lands and meets a man called Conrad, who essentially takes her under his wing. And then it cuts forward to kind of 13 years later, I think it is, where she's a young adult in the wasteland, but essentially Conrad has been protecting her, keeping her safe. She's not really ventured out into the wild, so she's quite naive. Dresses like your stereotypical video game protagonist at this point, so she's got like knee-high boots, She looks a bit like Black Canary, to be fair. She's got denim shorts, of course.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the picture. Yeah.
Now, the cover art for any of the covers do not do it justice. Because once you're inside, to say, see here, she's done this quite good job of. Lola starts off like that for the first issue and a half, and then when the actual real story sort of starts and she finds her way out into the wasteland, one of the first things she's told is basically get some clothes on, love, because you ain't going to survive. And for the rest of the interior art, she's wearing rugged pants and a jacket and a t-shirt sort of thing, and she looks more wilderness like she's in wilderness survival mode.
Yeah.
But all the covers and all the cover art show her in like the corset and stuff, so it's clear who obviously the original sort of audience this was probably intended to be. But having said that, a lot of Aspen's stuff is, they do Fathom, which is all underwatery stuff, and bikinis, Soulfire, which is sexy fairy type stuff. So it is kind of in the theme of the company to an extent. However, as I say, once you get into it and you get past the cover and past sort of that first issue and a bit, it is a lot more. It kind of it's a very sort of Mad Maxy kind of post-apocalyptic world, and it does get more gritty is the wrong word. It's not quite got gritty yet, but it does. There's some hard choices to make, and there are various factions. There are cannibals. There are all the usual post-apocalyptic fare. And so I kind of picked this up because I was watching the gameplay footage for Rage 2, and I kind of thought that looks really good fun, and that's a post-apocalyptic game, and that got me thinking about Mad Max. And then I saw this when I was browsing through Comixology, and I thought, you know what, I've not read a post-apocalyptic comic for a while, so I'll give it a go. And I really enjoyed it. The artwork is superb. The lettering is by Josh Reed, which I forgot to mention earlier. But everything else, Sia's done herself. The writing is really cool. It's a nice setup volume. I'm really looking forward to getting into the next volume as well. And yeah, the artwork and the colouring is, it's superb. It's my kind of art, so it's kind of like bordering on cheesecake, I guess. But that's what I like in my comic. I like kind of that kind of traditional style. But as I say, it's not too cheesecake. It's not over the line. And most of there aren't like close-up shots of her ass or all that kind of stuff. It is very much just a regular comic from that sense. It's just a story presented on the page, and it's good. The artwork is quite so the colouring in it is. It's kind of got that Mad Max feel in it. Everything's a little bit orange and kind of almost sandy, dusty. So it has got that kind of style where you feel like the air is contaminated. So it's not bright, it's not vibrant, it's a little bit muted, and it really sort of suits your setting. And yeah, as I say, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where Lola's adventure take her now. So the reason it's called Lola XOXO is because essentially her quest, as it said in the blurb, is to get reunited with her parents, who were across the other side of the US from her. And basically she spends every day, she writes a letter to her parents so that she can give them all her letters she's written throughout her life when she finally finds them. And she signs off those letters with Lola XOXO. So that's where the title comes from. Her name being Lola, obviously.
I have to say, sorry to interrupt, I've been looking at the some of the artwork on sort of Amazon or whatever, and the artwork is lovely, really colourful. It's got and this is the early stuff, which I'm guessing before the apocalypse stuff kicks off, because she's on a plane and she's young.
Yeah.
But the artwork, it's kind of got a bit of a European vibe to it, and almost feels like someone's used colour. Sounds stupid to say colouring pencils, but do you know what I mean? It's like
I'd
pastel.
agree with that.
It's got a kind of pastel vibe to it with the colours.
And that, as I say, that does flow through, and it does help with that almost dusty atmosphere feel to it as well.
Yeah.
So as I say, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading the rest. I'm quite glad I picked up the the omnibus edition with all 18 issues in. And it would be nice if more of this come out, to be honest, because from what I've read so far, I'm really enjoying it. I think she has done a fantastic job with it. Thumbs up from me.
Awesome.
Have you got anything else, or is that all of them today, Barry?
All I will say is that I am still reading I don't know if I said this to you, or if it was Stace, that I've spent the last sort of 6 months reading the BPRD comics.
Yes, you've mentioned them on Birds of Geek a couple of times. That you're enjoying them.
I'm nearly all caught up. So I've just read the volume called, I think it's called BPRD, The Devil You Know, Volume 1 Messiah, which is by Mike Mignola, Scott Allie, and Laurence Campbell did the art. Let's see if anyone else did the art, and Dave Stewart. So yeah, I can't really say much about it really because it would just spoil everything that's come before it. But one of the things I absolutely love about BPRD over pretty much any other comic universe that I've read is that things get broken and they stay broken.
That's good.
And people got to deal with people got to try and pick up the pieces. And boy, do things get broken in this world. And all I'll say is if you love sort of supernatural adventure stuff, like, say, Supernatural, the TV show and stuff like that, and obviously Hellboy, and it's just a brilliant. It's probably one of my top 3 comics of all time. Just the comic series, and this one doesn't let me down either. Art's great, writing's great, lettering's fantastic. You're just so invested in the characters that are in it as well because you follow them all the way, and the characters change, they evolve. Some of them don't make it, and again, it's just so different from reading a lot of other comics where things feel like a little bit of rinse and repeat and things don't change.
Yeah.
DC, Marvel, I'm looking at you, or they change, but they're kind of just rebooted again and again and again, that's what I mean. Things don't get rebooted here. It's like, this is the shit, you got to deal with it. So it's an absolutely brilliant comic series. And you can actually, if you read Hellboy, it helps, but you don't necessarily need to have read Hellboy to jump into BPRD. I think one of the things we talked to Laurence Campbell at a convention, I think we had him on a panel, and I know one of the things he said they've tried to do with him is make it so that you can pretty much pick up any volume and just kind of read it. I kind of don't necessarily feel that works as well with where they are now, but I feel that what you would get if you read this volume, because it does give a lot of callbacks to what's happened and how they've got there, but I think what it does make you want to do is go back to the beginning and find out how the hell they got in this situation in the first place.
Yeah, and then understand it all.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me done. Stick a fork in me, I'm done.
Cool. Excellent.
Yep, I think that is it. So, thank you everyone. We will see you again at some point. Well, you'll hear us again at some point, I guess.
But we'll see you.
No. Me and Barry won't because we're not creepy.
I'll see you. I'm not creepy.
No,
anyway,
that voice.
There's nothing to fear.
Right. Thanks, Ant, for giving all our 3 listeners nightmares.
It's alright, only one of them will be back.
You don't count as a listener, darling.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so thank you everyone, and we will speak to you again soon. As always, you can contact us via Twitter or via the website, or how else? I always forget all the ways.
Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest still going?
Kind of, not really, but kind of.
But yeah, I mean, email, website,
just search
Twitter.
Geek Syndicate.
Just search Geek Syndicate, you'll find us.
And you'll find a way to contact us.
Yeah.
Easiest thing. Just search Geek Syndicate. We're the only ones.
We're watching you.
Bye-bye.
I don't know why I'm doing that.
It sounds like you're trying out for like a sequel to The Wizard of Oz or something.
I know.
A bad sequel.
When you say bad sequel, I say awesome B-movie.
You say that.
I will.
Let's get out of here.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, all.